Hello, everyone. It's time for a special Thanksgiving week recruiting update with blueandgold.com's Mike Singer. Before he drops some scoop on us, make sure you hit like on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out blueandgold.com. Please sign up for our free newsletter. Mike, big news yesterday. He didn't visit for the game itself, correct? But Carnell Tate was on campus at Notre Dame for a Sunday visit. What's the word there?
I think, first of all, you got to say he's probably Notre Dame's top wide receiver target in the 2023 class. Big time player, top 100 player for rivals. Chicago Marist originally, and then transferred to Bradenton, Florida IMG Academy. Yeah, so he was at Ohio State on Saturday for their beatdown of Michigan
Mm-hmm.
State. And then I guess on the way back, stopped at Notre Dame with some buddies. So that is, I believe, his sixth visit to Notre Dame. I love to say hashtag follow the visit. So he did a self-guided tour in the spring, three times in June, visited for the Cincinnati game, and then just on Sunday. So that's six visits. He's been to Ohio State a bunch too. So another good visit for him, from what I'm told. But it's still a close battle between the Fighting Irish and the Buckeyes. You see on the screen the FutureCast picks, 88% are for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
That one pick that is not for Ohio State is mine from Notre Dame, one I put in earlier this year, but not super confident in it by any stretch. Buckeyes will be tough to beat, but Notre Dame very much in this thing.
Any other team that might get into there, or does that look like strictly a another Ohio State Notre Dame final?
I think Michigan is a school to watch. I know he actually likes Tennessee and Ole Miss. I have
Mm-hmm.
a hard time to seeing him landing at an SEC school personally. Illinois probably is going to be a school that lingers around, being pretty local. But I think it's going to be Notre Dame or Ohio State. If I had to pick a third, would probably be Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
JJ McCarthy, one of Michigan's quarterbacks is close with Carnell. But again, Notre Dame, Michigan, excuse me, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Probably the schools that have the best shot of landing them.
Mike, you released your gold standard on blueandgold.com today. An interesting name popped up that I don't think has been in a lot of your Lucky Charms pieces or gold standards, but Kamari Rogers out of Mississippi. What's going on there with Notre Dame?
Yeah, Notre Dame was very much in the mix for him earlier this year, even a top five school for him. And then he eliminated the Fighting Irish. And as you can see on the screen, he's been committed to Miami since June.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, heard today that Notre Dame is back in the mix there. To what extent, you kind of have to wait and see. There's been discussion of him potentially taking an official visit to Notre Dame in December before signing day. Mississippi State also very much involved. Ole Miss, I believe, is still in the mix. But yeah, I think right now, I think it's a little bit wait and see. Like, he had a major knee injury during his football season. So I believe Notre Dame's still trying to do a little bit of research, background,
Mm-hmm.
homework, if you will, on what the status of his knee is. But if he's if he's physically cleared to go, I mean, he is a big time football player. Rivals has him as the number 68 player in the country, number 9 cornerback in the 2022 class. And again, he was a top target for the Irish early on. Notre Dame's got 4 defensive back commitments. If they're going to take a fifth, Rogers would certainly be a good one, but Xavier Wonkpa from Iowa, obviously the top name to know right now, the 5-star player. Croy Stewart, UCLA commit out in California. He's definitely a player to keep an eye on as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you were at a wedding last weekend, Mike, and because you're 28 years old, you go to weddings every other weekend. That's kind of the thing you do at that age. But I was in Dillon, South Carolina. To
Where?
Dillon, South Carolina. That is on I-95, right by the South Carolina North Carolina border. We had a good discussion on our premium forum, the loose emoji board on blueandgold.com about that area. But I saw Monroe Freeling. He was part of the visiting team, Oceanside Collegiate. That's a Charleston area school, and they traveled up north to take on number 2 ranked Dillon in the playoffs. They were defeated 35-10. Dillon's got a very good squad, in fact, and just a lot more players. I mean, their program depth was a great advantage for them in the game, and their speed on defense overwhelmed Oceanside Collegiate's offensive line as a whole. Not really much because of Monroe Freeling at all, but just as a team, it was a tough matchup for them. I'm obviously rolling some video here I shot last weekend. You can see Monroe is a well-built kid. He's in great shape, great frame, no bad way. He's tall and pretty good movement ability overall. And he even plays defense in key moments. Like when they really need a stop, they'll put him in at defensive tackle. And that's impressive. That just kind of shows that the coaches and the team rely on him. They think he's a good player and whatnot. But, I think looking at it, though, and I talked to Tim Hyde, and he watched his film before the game, and, you wonder if he has the athleticism to play tackle at the next level, or he simply would just have to improve on his just kind of flexibility, bend, ability to get out of his stance. But that stuff, remember, he's just a junior. But it's clear, you can see why he's got the offers that he does have. He's like I said, I mean, 6'7", you can't teach that. No bad weight. Overall, pretty good movement ability. Just probably will have to learn to play with a little bit more leverage and the power that will come with that. But overall, an impressive-looking kid. You can see why he's the number one player in the state in 2023 for South Carolina. Rivals 250 prospect, and Clemson, Notre Dame. Those are two of the teams definitely in there. What do you know about his recruitment, Mike?
Yeah, he definitely loves Notre Dame. He visited this fall for a game. He was on campus in June. Fighting Irish staff's been on him for a while. But, you mentioned Clemson. They're always tough to beat for a kid in their state.
Mm-hmm.
But he's actually from Bend, Oregon. So he's from the Pacific Northwest. So might not have the same kind of in-state pull as most South Carolina kids would have with the Tigers. But still, Clemson is Clemson. Monroe Freeling, obviously looking at them. But early on, it's early in his recruiting process. Still wants to take more visits. He basically had told me that he had 3 stages of his recruitment. The kind of get to know you visit, the game day visit, and then the third cycle of visits is kind of like all right, let's get down to business. We finished up phase 2 and getting into phase 3 after the football season.
Yeah, from Charleston, that's about as far away from Clemson as you can be in state, in that state, and also an area. Charleston's kind of like in some ways a mini Charlotte where I live. There's people from all over the country that have moved to that area over the last couple decades. So, who knows? Like you said, he may not have an allegiance to a specific school. So it'll be interesting definitely to watch his recruitment and watch him get better as a player too. Because like I said, great frame to work with. Clearly, he plays hard too. That's the other thing. I mean, he keeps himself in shape. So a lot of those traits and values are definitely there for Monroe Freeling. So, Mike, anything else to look forward to? Obviously, Notre Dame's done with visits because their last home game done with visits for games, I should say. Their last home game was against Georgia Tech last weekend.
Yes, and it's getting crazy. We're getting to crazy time, Greg, where I wake up and it's like, all right, what kind of crap is going to be thrown my way? Like just like Kamari Rogers out of the woodwork, like that. That's a recruitment that I gotta start covering again. So you just kind of expect the unexpected at this point. That's the only constant I feel like at this time of the year. 2022 quarterback recruiting, that's going to be heating up. So make sure to check blueandgold.com for that. In-home visits will be starting up right after the Stanford game. The Notre Dame coaches will stay out on the West Coast. They'll see their commits in California, Tobias Merriweather, in the Portland, Oregon area. He's in Washington, but in that suburb. So yeah, in-home visits, December official visits, signing day in mid-December. It's going to be hectic here. So make sure to lock in at blueandgold.com.
All right, look forward to your next gold standard and all those lucky charms you feed us, Mike, every night. It's great stuff, man. Appreciate your time. Again, everyone hit like on the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stay tuned to blueandgold.com for continuing coverage of Notre Dame football recruiting. Thanks.